And we're back.
And we're back.
It's crazy to think that whole area is all flooded out now.
I know.
That
Crazy.
I was sitting in there. Yeah.
Crazy.
Nuts.
Good thing
Nuts,
you enjoyed it while you could.
I did.
You know.
I did.
Beautiful. Very peaceful. I wonder if anybody else watches that intro and goes, "Where's Chase? Why is it just Shep in this intro?" That's what you should have used when I was gone in June.
Well, we recorded it like a week before we used it, so
I know.
I didn't have it back then.
I'm just saying it would have been good for then when it was just Sheppy.
No, yeah, I vibe with you, but I don't know. You were off walking and looking.
That's true.
When I was sitting down.
That is true. So. We do have a guest today. We don't know if she's ready yet or not. She's waiting in the green room, if you will, the Chase and Shep green room.
The green room.
But yeah, Shep, any housekeeping at this top of the show?
Not really, man. I mean, it's been a baller week, like I was telling you.
You can think of?
Working at Spirit Halloween, doing my thing. Just vibing.
There's no big news that dropped this week.
I mean, there is big news that dropped. I mean, you can see the little ticker taker, dude. It's going across the screen right now. It's telling you everything that you need to know. Chase and Shep. Latest streams are updating. ChaseandShep.com. We got some cool shit on there. Hit up Scareplex. It's got the latest and greatest in sci-fi, paranormal, true crime,
and of course horror.
And of horror. Course, did I skip over horror?
Yeah, you surpassed it. It was obvious.
It's got horror.
You know what's in Scareplex. It's got horror right there, and hit up Scareplex for the latest and greatest horror, sci-fi, paranormal, and true crime. Bada boom.
I mean, not only do I have my Chase and Shep notification there from YouTube, before all meeting up, I was popping around looking what we have.
You're freezing up on us, bud, and he's frozen. It's too bad. I'm sure you don't get that kind of problem up on Scareplex. Hey, there he is.
No, you don't. You don't do that. It's probably just because I'm overloading the internets. Sorry, internets. Yeah, I was on there before we all was on here. So
it's pretty baller.
It is. No, it is. It has got some good shit. Yeah. I'm gonna probably peep out Zombies 3 tonight. I was looking. I was
pretty stoked to see that those are on there, and the Demons movies. I was wanting to watch Demons and Demons 2.
Got a lot of good shit to choose from. Yeah. A lot that I was looking through that I was like, I've never heard of and I've never seen, but look right up my alley, dude. Yeah. So
I dig that too as a horror person. I will say today I watched Carnival of Souls, and I've tried watching that one before, and I know you and I kind of talked about how you get a little bored of Night of the Living Dead whenever you watch that one, like the OG, and I felt that way with Carnival of Souls. I can't get into that one, man. That was just. It's not even that long either. It's like an hour and 12, 19 minutes, something like that. Hard watch.
I feel that, dude.
Hard watch. Boring. About ghosts and whatnot. Let's check in on that guest of ours. Let's see if she's ready to go.
Let's do it.
Ready, Mercedes? Are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Hell yeah. We got Mercedes in the house. Tell the people what you do. All sorts of things. Make us.
I do a lot of things. So I am a licensed esthetician, which is a skincare therapist. I do, facials and waxing and all the spa stuff, relaxing spa stuff. Nice. But I also do makeup and special effects makeup, which is my favorite thing to do. And, I always wanted to be an actress. And so this year has taken off with that. So that's been really cool.
Yeah.
Already been part of a couple movies and lots of fun stuff. And your guys' stuff, which I'm excited about.
As are we. We were very excited to have you.
Yes, we was.
Taking a minute to upload. Anyways, Yeah, that's so exciting. Yeah, because we met you on one of the. Was F your first? Was that right? Your first like movie?
Hold on, hold on. Cutting out. There we go.
Yeah. I'm suspecting that this is going to be one of those episodes.
We've had them. We can deal with that.
Yeah.
That's true.
But yeah, he was asking, was F the first movie that you was a part of and doing?
Yes, it was. That was the first like actual movie set that I was on. So that was really cool. I almost didn't go.
I'm really.
Things could have been so much different.
Yeah.
I feel like the people that showed up there. I mean, I know our shit has changed so much just from being involved with EFT. The people that we've met and
Right.
got to work with. We just worked with Taylor Haller yesterday
Right.
because of EFT.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And now that it's actually done, yeah, she does makeup effects, and they're really good. Actually, here's a sample, just in case you needed to see it with your own eyes.
Baller.
Very baller.
That's
Very baller. We were rewatching the Halloween one from last year, and it's an upgrade, and it's undeniable from what we were doing last year.
This is a fact.
I know. I'm such a perfectionist that, like for me, I was like, no, it could be better.
Of course, if we all had the time and money that we wanted to make everything perfect, but we'd also probably never stop either. We'd probably always be trying to just perfect it so much.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
It's the fun of moving on the fly, though.
Definitely.
And you had the joy of helping hold down Shep and getting those contacts in his eyes. I don't know if we could have gotten through that without you.
I was glad to be a part of it. Yeah. Thanks. That was really cool.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I don't like contacts still. I mean, I made that split decision afterwards that it's like that was going to be the first and last time I think I ever tried to put them in my eyes because they are terrifying.
I felt so bad. Just felt like I was torturing you.
No, like even like you guys had left by the time we were getting them out, and I was telling Chase, I was like, I just dig your finger in there. Like that point, I had no concern for my eye anymore. So you did amazing to get them in there.
It sure is.
Hell yeah, Randy. That's what's up. Yeah, definitely, Randy. So like what got you into like wanting to do makeup originally?
Into what?
Like doing like you said you were doing like spa stuff, like so what made you want to like do like effects makeup and whatnot?
I don't know. I've always been a horror fan. That's my favorite genre, and Halloween's my favorite holiday. And then when I was in school for aesthetics, we learned how to do basic, makeup by like looking at people, and we learn about their undertones and like the shape of their face and their eyes and everything, and how to do their makeup. Well, then around that time, YouTube videos of girls doing makeup and special effects makeup was really big, and that was blowing up. And so I started watching all the YouTube videos of that, and I just started it, and I was really good at it, and I really liked it. So I was like, let's do it.
I vibe with that. Like everything you were like leading up to the shoot and stuff, everything you kept sending Chase and whatnot, you would show me, and I'd be like, "Yeah, no, that looks fucking baller. Like that looks like a levels better than I could even fathom to do." Because yeah, I don't understand shit about the contours of faces and whatnot. So I saw you posted up that you painted some people up like the ICP like the last weekend, and that's the extent that I could ever do.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta, especially because you were doing like face paint for like little tigers on people's faces and stuff. So yeah, I'm sure that's thrown off having someone go up like, nah, I want to look like Shaggy. Shaggy Two Dope.
Yes, it was. There was two teenage girls, and they were like, "Well, we want to get face painted, but we don't know what we want." And I was like, whatever. I can do something that's not, on my board that I had up. And then she was like, "Wait a minute, can you do Juggalo makeup?" And I just lost it.
God damn it! How is this the second week in a row we're talking about Insane Clown Posse?
Juggalos. They're making a comeback apparently, bud.
Clearly,
That's so funny.
goodness.
I was like,
me.
"Yeah, I can totally do that." She was like, "Have you done that before?" And I was like, on myself when I was like 14 and I listened to ICP, yeah." And she was like, "Oh my God, we're 14."
It's like, uh-oh. See,
Right.
the cycle continues. It continues.
Clearly,
Apparently, that's the age.
It's the phase you go through about 14, 15. You start hearing it and you're like, wait, what juggalos? I kind of like this.
I missed that
Yep.
one. I missed that boat.
Yeah, you did,
You
bud.
missed that one, yeah.
I like carnivals, so I was like, whoa. What is this?
Let's see here. What was the horror movie or thing that kicked off your love of the genre? Is there something you can attribute to this day to your love of all things spooky? Ooh, that's great. Why don't you call in that question to Shep for October, Randy? Come on, man.
Right? That was a good one. I have a brother. So my brother that I grew up with is 9 years older than me.
Right.
So I unfortunately, or fortunately, watched scary movies when I was like 5, because he was really into the horror movies. And so, yeah, I mean, my first horror movie, I think, was Chucky. And I loved it. Loved it.
Shep and I were just talking about how everybody's experience with Chucky seems to be the same. We were all kids exposed to Child's Play or Chucky dolls at some point in time, and the rest is history. We were
Mine
all
did not go good. Yeah, mine did not go good.
It didn't go good for my brother. I think he might have been trying to scare me, but I ended up, liking it. And then one night I had woken up in the middle of the night and I decided I was going to play with toys in the dark on the floor. And he came in and he was like, "Mercedes, is that you?" And I'm like 5, just playing with toys on the ground in the dark. So he lost it. From then on, he was like 100% sure that I was going to turn into Chucky and just kill the family.
The risk you take showing youngins horror movies.
Yeah, you do, man. Like I said, mine was opposite. I saw the end of that movie and it scared the shit out of me, and I wanted nothing to do. I and my whole childhood seemed to be that. I remember, because we had a haunted house through the basement, creepiest fucking place of this community building, and my family wanted to go through every year, and I was the youngest, so I had to go. It was like they were like,
"Oh, she had to go as well."
We'll pop her back up when she pops back
Yeah.
in. But yeah, no, they made me go through every year. And I just always remember having to fucking latch onto my dad's back, like, holy shit, terrified. I remember a Freddy Krueger room with Freddy. And, to me, that was Freddy Krueger in that room. As a little kid, that wasn't a dude wearing a mask, it was Freddy Krueger in that room. So
Right.
I attribute all that for my love of horror. It's like my family put me through that trauma growing up, and I decided one day to own the trauma. And look at me now, Mom.
Look at you now.
Slaying demons. Slaying demons. What'd Randy say there?
He said, "My
Profound
profound
question.
questions come and go. I only get them when I get them." Get a notebook, man. Jot them down or something. Don't know what to tell you.
But yeah, no, Chucky, That took years. That took years. Even it was funny because the person I was working with at Spirit Halloween, she had the same experience. She's like, I saw Chucky, it scared the shit out of me. I got rid of a doll because of it, and I was like, see what I'm telling you? You got us all.
Mhm.
Yeah, right. Like as a girl, you know, I played with dolls, and after seeing Chucky, I was very nice to my dolls.
For sure.
I would
My
bet.
my grandmother had like a wall of like dolls in her house, and whenever we'd stay the night there, like I hadn't even seen Child's Play. I just knew about it, and I'd be freaked out sleeping in the living room next to this whole like wall of creepy ass dolls. They were like the porcelain dolls too, just
Yeah.
spooky.
Those are the ones that always get me, the porcelain dolls.
Yeah, my mom used to collect those type of dolls, so they were always in the house. They freak me out. They look like they're always looking at you, you know, like the eyes follow you.
Yeah. That's why I've just never. Ooh, those still to this day. If I saw one, I'd probably be like, nah.
Yeah. I forgot what I was gonna say. It wasn't important.
Chase forgot what he was gonna say.
There's somebody needs to just go through and like cut a compilation of how many times I forget what I'm talking about. Hey,
I can
welcome
vibe
back.
with that. Hello.
Can you
There's
hear
two
us?
streams.
Sorry.
Man. Oh no, you're good. You are good.
Okay.
Trust me,
Oh,
we can. Ours can never be as bad as the stream where my power went out the whole time, and I had to FaceTime you, Chase, and you had to hold your phone
yeah.
up.
I held up the
And
phone and we did the whole show like this with Shep on my phone. So we're used to it. It's
Oh
all
no.
we've
good.
done we've went through it.
As a kid, I could not do Chucky. Even South Park and Celebrity Deathmatch made me squeamish. Something about child-coded violence that did not work well with me. And everyone loved Happy Tree Friends. I feel that.
Oh
Thought that
my
was
God, I remember.
pretty disturbing.
Yeah. Celebrity Deathmatch. That was that. I used to watch that a lot.
I like Celebrity Deathmatch and Happy Tree Friends. I just saw, I think, a disc replay, like a season of that, and I almost got it because I was like, "Yo, that used to be some bonkers shit."
Yeah. I
Right.
I was gonna say I feel like a lesson I've learned from my parents is I would much rather my son watch these horror movies and learn about like Chucky and Jason and Michael and Freddy from the movies and understand that these are movies than what my parents did, which is explain these people to me completely out of context, not really making it clear that they were from like a movie or something. They're just like the time I asked my dad, "What's Friday the 13th? Like, why is everybody acting all weird and stuff?" And he's like, "Oh, Friday the 13th is the day that this guy in a hockey mask runs around and kills little kids and shit." I'm like, "Whoa, okay, well, that's terrifying." Same with like Chucky and stuff. It's just like, "Oh yeah, Chucky's this killer doll." Killer doll? What do you mean? Like, no context. Terrified of these things. Whereas now I feel like I can get in front of it and be like, this is who this is, and he's not real. This is how they make him. Let me show you the bonus features. We'll do a deep dive. You won't even be afraid.
Yeah, I vibe with
Right.
that. My parents did the
That's
same.
how I
That's
feel.
kind of
Yeah.
they said it like all these people were real. They never was like, oh no, they was just like, oh yeah, Friday the 13th with Jason, killing teenagers out in the woods, and it's like, yeah, wait,
You see
hold
that
up.
documentary that just came out? Nightmare on Elm
And I remember being kids out playing with your friends and being like, it's Friday the 13th, we can't go in the woods, Jason will get you and shit like that.
Facts.
I like those. I like that though. Like I
Yeah.
like, if enough of us believed that the woods were haunted on Friday the 13th, maybe the woods would become haunted on Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
It's very true.
You know what I'm saying?
that's true.
Yeah. A lot of those
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a lot of those icons, their reputations precede them for sure. Like I never got into horror movies till I don't know, about like seventh grade for me. And but before that, well before that, I was aware of all these icons. Like you could same thing, like you couldn't go past a sewage drain without thinking of old Pennywise the clown. Like, somehow you knew whether you've seen the movies or not. It's just like you kind of knew about these characters. But
Those were always
That's
on
actually
TV.
one of that's one that I didn't watch until I was older.
I'd say like it was always on TV when I was growing up. They always was playing some Stephen King movies on USA. I feel like.
yeah. So I believe the main reason we have you here today is to get spooky again. We had a week off from being spooky, and you said you got some spooky stories for us, Mercedes, and we'd love to hear some of them.
Some spooky stories, yeah. So my grandma was a medium, and she actually held seances and, spoke to the dead and things like that in her house. So I grew up around that. And in that town, I guess it was known, for being haunted and having a lot of that kind of thing go on. Because like I said, I was, 5, 6 years old. And my first probably encounter was at a friend's house in that town. And I was staying the night, and her mom was asleep in her room. We were in the living room watching movies, and we hear something crazy coming from the bedroom. And so we go in there, and the mom was lifted up out of her bed like this, like as if something was keeping her, but there was nothing there. I was like, whoa, wasn't sure what to think about that. I'm only 6 years old, and I don't remember what my friend said, but she gave me a reason or whatever, and maybe it was she was just dreaming, or whatever. So I didn't think anything of it. And then there was the second time that I went over to stay the night, and again, we were in the living room, we're watching movies, and I looked up at the ceiling, and there was an outline of a man's face that looked like it was like made out of blood. Well, I was like, what? Do you see this right now? She saw it too. And I was like, okay, well, let's just forget about it. So tried to forget about it, and it was still there. And then I shit you not, a drop of blood dripped, or something from the ceiling dripped onto my leg, and I lost it. I ran to the bathroom, wiped it off my leg, and I left. When I woke up the next day, there was a spot on my leg that looked like it was like dried blood. So that was really weird. Again, I was like 6 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think about that. I still don't know what to think about that kind of stuff.
It'd be terrifying.
Right? It was terrifying. But a lot of stuff like that happened, around there. And then I always had dreams where these things would happen. So I've always had dreams where they would happen. I used to lucid dream. I used to astral project. And there was actually a meeting space where I guess other people who were astral projecting met, because it was like a little cul-de-sac. And these people would just come down from the sky. And we would just meet up there. It was the weirdest thing. I don't do any of that anymore. And that's because when I was a teenager and we moved to Decatur, which if you don't know, Decatur is very haunted.
Yeah.
I can believe that.
I heard the cemetery over there is.
Yes, it has the devil's chair in it or whatever. Yeah, big cemetery. We used to go walking around there, and I started actively looking for haunted places and ghosts and things like that. And I found them. When we would go to the graveyards, I would have this huge weight on my chest. It would feel like something was like sitting on my chest. And as I'm learning more about that kind of stuff, that's a really big sign that there's spiritual presence, there. And if you're somebody like an empath who can pick up those things, then you're going to feel it wholeheartedly. And I did. So I actually had to stop going to the graveyards. So when all my rest of my friends were like, let's go run around the graveyards, and I would have to miss out. I'm like, I just can't do it anymore. It's too physically exhausting for me. So I can't. And then after a few months, I would try to go again, and I just couldn't handle it. The last time I ever went, we walked through, and I actually saw spirits, or whatever you like to call them, sitting on their own gravestones, sitting on their headstones. And I was like, is nobody else seeing this? And they were like, no, we don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, dude, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. I can't do it.
Yeah,
So,
no, that'd be sad to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was, and it was only a couple. It wasn't like all of the headstones. It was only a couple. They didn't notice me, they didn't notice that I noticed them, I guess. But that was really weird. And that's not the first time I saw a full spirit, though. When my babysitter, when I was like 12, 10, 11, 12, her brother died, and we were at her house, giving our condolences and being there for her and everything like that. And I looked up at the top of her staircase, and I saw what looked like her brother just sitting there. And he was just sitting there, arms crossed, looking at his sister. And that, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's heartbreaking.
I've had a lot
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah.
No, it's one of those. That's one of those.
And,
that's like, people would think it's really cool. Like, oh, you can see ghosts. That's so cool. But they don't realize like that sort of aspect of things. Like, no, I mean, sometimes it's a heartbreaking experience,
Yeah, sometimes it is. And it can be scary, especially if you're I'm dealing with it alone. I was alone. Didn't have anybody experiencing it with me, as a teenager too, or a preteen or whatever. But, so when we were in Decatur, like I said, we were doing all those things, running around the graveyards. I actually became extremely depressed. The house that we moved in was haunted, and I didn't notice, at first. And then I started hearing things in the attic. I started hearing people talking, and this is just me and my mom that lived there. And she was gone all the time because she worked from like 6 a.m. to 9 at night. And then when she got home, she would pass out, I would hear stuff constantly. Anytime I was home alone, there was always like swooshes past me. I mean, it would swish my hair. And sitting on the sofa, eating noodles, eating my freaking ramen noodles at 14, watching TV. And next to me on the couch would be like an imprint, like somebody had sat down next to me. There was nobody there. It started getting so bad that it was affecting me mentally. I would hear people arguing right outside my bedroom door, upstairs, footsteps. I mean, all kinds of stuff. And it affected me to where I was becoming very depressed. And my mom actually, I talked with her about it and everything like that. And she's very understanding about that stuff. Because it's in our family. I mean, it's in our blood. And so she dealt with that as a young girl too, and she actually let us up and move. So we moved
That's cool. That's good.
out of the house.
A lot of people in horror movies could probably take a note from that. Be like, hey, why don't we just go? Why don't we just get the fuck out of here?
Right? Yeah. We did. We were out of there. But yeah, it's been pretty cool. So since then, I've learned how to block the energies and learned how to do a lot of protection things to where I don't let, things in or let them affect me, as they used to. So I'm very happy about that.
Now it is really good that we're at a spot, in time where you can learn about all that kind of stuff now, dive into the internet and learn how to do protection spells and learn how to, get your house on tap so you are protected, the energy inside you is protected. So that is pretty cool. That is dope.
Exactly. And I try to teach the kids about it. I'm teaching them a little bit here and there about energy. First we're working energy. So, and they dig it. They like it.
Yeah.
They get it. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had an experience a week ago or whatever it was. I don't know if I want to name names or anything because I don't know how people feel about that. But I was in a situation where we walked in and she was like, "This place is actually one of the haunted ones," and I was like, "Oh, really? Okay." So I went and stood in the middle of the room, and I dropped my veil or whatever you want to call it, and I dropped it, and I sat for a second, and I said, "Whoa, I'm getting a lot of energy up there in that left-hand corner." And she turned around, looked at me, and she was just like, "Oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much. I've told everybody that there's something up there." And she's also used to do paranormal investigation and all that kind of stuff. So that was really cool.
Oh yeah. Still got it.
Right?
Still got it. I've always been an empath myself. I've had my ups and downs with that, learning about it, just how you're just a beacon for things, once I learned that I was a highly sensitive person and just what all of that applied to, I remember being as young as like, I don't know, it was pretty young, like kindergarten, somewhere around like kindergarten, elementary school, uh, were the first dreams I could remember where like I would have these dreams and they would happen. And obviously people are just like, oh, that's just deja vu, or it's this or it's that. But it's like I'm this little kid. I've never like been to these places before. And I remember distinctly we went on a field trip somewhere, and I think it was the Nashville Zoo, and they have like these historical like houses there and stuff, and like buildings and whatnot. And there's this particular building that we went into, and like in my dream we did all this. Like we went to this building, we saw like the tour guide was talking to us, all that. And then the next day we went on the field trip, and I'm like, dude, I did all this already. Like and it was just a weird experience, especially when you're a little kid. You're like, how do you
Yeah.
explain something like that, without the adults being like, uh-oh, my son's
Yeah.
cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like,
Yeah,
I
right?
remember the first time I told my mom, like, hey, I was like maybe first grade, and I told her I thought maybe I had powers or something, and she threatened to take my Harry Potter books away. I was like, all right, well, that's the last time we're talking about this then, I guess.
Aw.
It's like,
Yeah.
you're not taking my damn Harry Potter books. You let me have my fun.
Right.
But yeah, I've always,
Telling you nothing.
it would always just get stronger as life went on. One of the like the girl who's like my first love, when we started dating, like I had like a series of dreams where, and it's one of those things where people are like, oh well, you were already thinking about it, so you did it because sort of thing. But it's like, but I didn't make the decisions. That's
Right.
what it comes down to for me, is like it'd be different. Like I'd have a dream where we held hands for the first time, then the next day that's exactly what happened. But it's like I didn't grab her hand and hold it, she grabbed my hand, and like the same thing with our first kiss, like all of that I had dreams the night prior, or like I would just get a bad feeling about things.
Yep.
With her, I don't know what it was about her in particular. There was always a very strong connection there, like whether it was the dreams or I distinctly remember we worked at the same place, and I was in the back of this store, and she apparently had just come in, and I had no idea, but like she would always smell like incense, and I just got this very strong like I could smell her almost like in the back, and so I start to walk to the front of the store, and there she is, just standing there.
Yep.
I was like, oh shit, what are the odds? And just things like that, dreams that would come true, or would just have vivid detail. That was always my big thing, and just being very sensitive to people,
Yeah.
vibes of people, just kind of. I always know when somebody's going to stick around, like when somebody's going to play a bigger part in my life. I was actually just talking to Taylor about this yesterday. In a way, about effed. It's like we met a lot of people that day, and it's like, but there were certain people that just kind of they leave, like you said. There's that energy with people, and you just get this read, and it's just like the few people that I felt that energy with are all the people we're working with now, like yourself and Taylor and Samantha, and like there was just that thing there where it's like, who are these people, and why do I feel like they're going to be around for a while? It's just
Yeah.
it was an interesting experience, but it is cool to hear somebody else who has these types of experiences as well.
Yeah.
'Cause it
I
can
used
be
to have the. Huh.
it can be lonely. It can be very lonely when you experience things like this and nobody gets it. Yeah.
Mhm. And then you feel, crazy because
Mhm.
nobody you try to tell people and they're like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Probably thinking you're nuts,
Yeah.
And
It's like, it is what it is. You can think I'm nuts. It happened.
right, right. Like, yeah, I mean, I get it. It sounds crazy, but it happened. I promise. I used to do those too.
Yeah. I think one of the craziest ones for me, I had talked to like my best friend about it. I was working at a restaurant once, and there was like this brief moment in time where like I I turned to like grab the food, and I turned back to like give it to the waitress, and the face of the waitress was just like this straight up like demonic looking face. It wasn't her face, and I was like, "What the fuck, dude?" Like it scared the shit out of me in that moment, and like I told my friend about it later, and then like obviously I'm like, "Whoa," and she was back to normal, and but I was just like, "What the fuck was that?" And that's one of those things like you tell people, you're like, oh, "Okay, sure." I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm not sitting here trying to explain it. It's just what happened. It's crazy.
Oh, I've definitely have had that happen to me before too. I've also had two people so far in my life. It was kind of around the same time. First, it was in Texas, and then it was shortly after when we moved to Decatur, where something happened that it made me so angry that I had turned around and I looked at them and I just gave them this look because I was so mad at what they had just done. Their whole face changed and they're like, "Whoa, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry." And I was like, "Well, I'm mad." They claim that my eyes actually went red. So,
Interesting.
I can see where that be.
I mean, that scared the fuck out of me. If someone's eyes went
like,
red,
"Oh
so
man, sorry." Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I'm gonna drop it. We're good.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and maybe they were lying. Maybe it was just my mad face, scared them. But I mean, their face definitely changed. Got scared for a second.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in this kind of stuff. I've always believed, and of all the like theories out there in the world, one that I have always believed pretty heavily in is that human beings are capable of things that we can't really wrap our minds around. That there's especially nowadays there's so much noise that it's very difficult to hone these things. But like if we were able to unlock the things that we were able to do, it's like, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm gonna shoot fire out of the tips of my fingers. It's like, you might, I don't know, I don't know what the human body's capable of, but the
I
human
agree.
mind is capable of incredible things.
If you believe
Um,
it, buddy. If you
yeah,
believe it.
if you believe,
I
Right.
think that's still my personal theory is that if enough people believe something is
Mhm.
possible, it becomes possible. Like the
Yeah.
minds will link and create. If we all started believing in the Loch Ness monster again, the Loch Ness monster would probably reappear for the first time.
Right.
I definitely believe in Nessie.
Oh yeah. Missy's a fave of mine.
I believe in a
that's
lot of them.
yeah, right. I do too. But do you remember being a kid and you're like trying to use telekinesis, to move something, move that water bottle over here,
Yeah.
or the force, whatever if you're a Star Wars fan.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna use the force. Give me that remote over there. I used to do that all the time. And I mean, sometimes I almost thought that it moved a little.
Right.
But
I think so much things that like people consider to be like psychic powers is a lot of it is just psychology and spirituality, and the combination of the two is a very powerful tool that
yeah,
human beings can utilize if they are willing to open their mind and learn about it.
right. Yep, I agree there. I
It's
remember
like,
one time. Oh, go ahead.
You go ahead. You go ahead. You're the guest on the show. I just run this thing. I'm here every week.
I remember one time in Decatur, it was one of those times that my friends wanted to go to the graveyard, and I was like, I just can't do it tonight. I can't. I'm not feeling it. And so I stayed home, and they're out there. Like 30 minutes or so goes by, and I'm just sitting in my house watching TV, and I get a wave of energy that rushed across me, and I was like, whoa. I need to give Alan a call. And so I called and I was like, hey, what are you guys doing? Are you still at the graveyard? And they were like, yeah, we're just walking around. And I was like, well, I have a really bad feeling and I really think you need to get out of there. And as I'm on the phone, I mean, it happened again. And I had this flash of an image of this guy peeking out his window, out of his curtains. And I said, hey, do me a favor and look around. Do you see anybody looking at their window at you? I don't know. I know that's a weird question, but just look around and check out your surroundings.
Mhm.
And they looking, and he was like, holy shit, how did you know that? There's a guy with glasses looking out his window at us right now. And I was like, dude, you got to go. You guys got to go. And so they left. 5 minutes later, the cops showed up at the graveyard and everything. And on the other side of the graveyard, there was some kids messing around and they were trying to do like a satanic ritual seance, or some crap. And sure enough, all those kids had gotten arrested. And if they would have stayed any longer, they probably would have been in trouble too.
Yeah. Shit's wild.
That's when that's when the good energies is when it's like you get the homies out of some danger.
Right.
Yeah.
You have a feeling you hit somebody up, and it's real. It happens. You know what I'm saying? It's a real thing. When one of my buddies passed away, I thought about him the day after it had happened randomly and was like, I need to call him tonight. And then got called and got the news. And it's just one of those things that's like, you never know, like, that energy could have just been his energy coming to me at that time. And that's why I thought of him and was like, I need to call him tonight.
Yep.
And it's wild. It's really wild.
I know.
Really
Last week, last week we did the mental health check-in, got into the seizure stuff a little bit, and in like the beginning with my seizures, a lot of it was brought on by like PTSD and just traumatic situations that kind of started it all. But the moment that the condition really changed for me, and it was a weird thing, like I only ever talked about it with like a handful of people in my life because it's such a bizarre like situation, but the relationship I was in at the time was just very toxic. I was in like the darkest place I'd ever been in my life. I did not like who I was. I did not like how dark I had become. Like I was so angry and stuff, and I just had all this like dark negative energy cooped up inside of me. And when the seizures first started, the very first time I ever had a seizure, I distinctly remember, and could be mind games, whatever, but I was in a room where like I was in one corner, and then the other corner was the door, and I start having the seizure, and I distinctly remember looking up in that corner, and there's just something there, just something dark was just in the room with me. And from that moment forward, I mean, I kind of felt that a lot. I still do to this day. The seizures, I always feel like it's like somebody's trying to hijack my body, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, I guess in a way, I guess it kind of makes sense about it being a dissociative disorder. When I made the joke last week about getting something
Right.
fun like split personality, it's almost like it did happen, but like I have a strong enough will to like fight it. So there's that battle over who gets control.
Right.
So I don't know this other guy. As far as I know, he never takes the wheel. But when I finally got out of this relationship, like the moment I broke up with this girl and I got out of this whole situation, I felt so free. And in that moment, I just like got this whole rush of like all that dark energy got replaced with like this enlightened feeling all of a sudden. And I felt like I understood so much about like the universe and the world, and it was like insane to me, like that my mind is operating like at this level all of a sudden. And what was crazy is like my mind went like like this, and then all of a sudden one day all of this understanding and stuff was just gone. It was just gone. And I think my seizures got worse after that because all of a sudden I had all of these huge concepts that had entered my brain that the understanding's gone now. And so I just have these concepts left over, and they drove me nuts. Like they literally drove me crazy trying to figure out like how I understood them before. And it was like I had it for that brief moment in time where it's like I understood how time worked, like how everything was interconnected. Like I was just like I am at the nucleus of this, and I've had to like relearn a lot of that stuff. But yeah, it like drove me nuts a little bit after that happened. Just that amount of information, because then I'm just like, what the fuck did it all mean? How do I put this back together? Like I feel like a literal crazy person, and I felt that loneliness of like I wish I could explain this to somebody who's just like, no, you're right, dude. Like you're not crazy. Like you did experience this, and it's true. But yeah.
No,
So
yeah, absolutely. That's like how I felt, in that house. I felt trapped and alone, and just, I knew something else was going on because I could hear these things. And, sometimes I'd be in the shower, and, the shampoo on the edge of the thing would just fall off. There's no wind in there. There's no, nothing in there, and all these things are happening, and it beats you down, you know,
mhm.
it really did. And I get that feeling alone. It sucks that yours had to kind of, be in seizure, you
Yeah.
know.
My
Um,
a friend of mine, her like prevalent theory is that it has something to do with my sensitivity to things like this. She's like, that's
yeah.
probably why you get these things and whatnot.
That's actually a good point, because anytime nowadays, since I've learned how to block everything, and I don't open myself up to this kind of stuff anymore, and whatever. Anytime I talk about it, my whole body shakes
Yeah, yeah.
right
It's hard to
now.
talk about. Like it is. It's hard to just like publicly say like, hey, this is my experience, and whether you think I'm a crazy person or not, like it's my truth. It is legit to me.
Yep.
But
Every time, my
well,
whole body just shakes. It's the weirdest thing ever.
like I said last week, the seizures are brought on often by like, you know, if I come to a fork in the road, I'm taking all paths. Like for some reason, like my mind will go down every path, and it's like when you're living every moment at once. I actually wrote in my little notebook just to remember. It's like how can I be in the moment when I'm living so many moments at once? It's like it's very hard to be present when I'm just being like scattered like across like it's like hey you could do this or you could do this. It's like oh fuck it, we could try them all and just put you into like a glitch mode for a minute. And but I don't know, I've always believed in that kind of stuff like non-linear time and all that stuff, and clearly it's affected our storytelling greatly, since we get so into shit like that. It's been fun to explore that on a fictitious level because I've clearly been obsessed with it since I was a kid.
Yeah,
But
me too. As a kid, because you said, mentioned something dark in the corner, that happened to me a lot as a kid. I saw shadow people a lot when I was a little kid. I remember it happening a lot, and I would run into my mom's room and, be scared, end up sleeping with her, whatever. But it happened constantly. And I'm like, that's so weird. And like sleep paralysis, so weird that it was happening to a 5-6-year-old, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So weird. But it happened a lot. And then I touched on it a little bit last week. I used to get these crazy things that happened to me where my vision, so like, I don't know if it's really tunnel vision. It's not really tunnel vision, but like, I can't think of a movie that has done it, but a lot of horror movies, will do it where, it's in one of the Freddy Krueger movies. But anyways, where you're standing there and then all of a sudden, whatever's in front of you, hallway or something, it just shoots back, right? And it's nothing's, I wasn't doing anything. I'm a 7-8-year-old just, trying to sleep, or whatever. And sure enough, man, all of a sudden my vision would do that, boom. And then my hands would cramp up like this and they would be stuck like that. And I could not open them. And then my nose would feel like a really thin, like a needle, like really thin. The weirdest thing. And it happened a lot as a little kid. And then it didn't happen to me for ages until I was like 22. And it happened, and I ended up going to the ER, and they said that it was my body was trying to like drink itself or eat itself.
Got a case of the demons.
Yeah, right. My body was like had no nutrients.
Okay.
It was like depleted of nutrients, and so it was like shutting down. So weird though. I was like, okay, well, why would that happen for an 8-year-old? That's weird.
Right.
But
yeah, the only time I've ever had that like type of vision, I was on drugs, so that's accounted for. I know why that happened.
That's what I was gonna say. I've seen that exact same thing, but I was on a lot of mushrooms at the time. My vision did that, so it just shot.
Look, it froze him in place right now. He's still feeling those mushrooms all these years later.
Took him back.
I'm back.
There he is.
Yeah, of course. And the second I start talking, my internet's like, "Hey, let's glitch out here."
Right.
But mine. That's how it went. And I heard that noise.
Yeah. So weird.
I was driving though, so it was quite terrifying. So don't advise it, kids. Kids, hey, don't advise it these days. As a 18-year-old, I was pretty dumb. That was 18 years ago.
Yeah, we're all pretty dumb at 18.
Yeah, that was 18 years ago.
The ones who aren't dumb at 18 end up being dumb at like an older age, and it really fucks them in life. And so just be dumb at 18. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's the advice we're gonna impart on everybody today.
I can vibe with that though. As a kid, I had strange things happen like that too, though. I mean, I had somebody move into my childhood home later in life when I was adult, and they straight up asked me, they were like, "Is that place fucking haunted?" Because they saw a bunch of weird, like weird shit in there. Would in the upstairs they would smell a cigar in there, and they're like, "Well, we don't smoke inside," and they'd smell a cigar burning in there, and I was like, as a kid, I always heard shit all the time. I felt like people were there. I don't remember exactly, but I remember plenty of nights waking up screaming, making my mom come all up, get all up in my room because I was terrified. But one thing I do remember, and I know all my siblings still do remember too, is like, we were in the second floor of this old house. So we had, wooden stairs going up, but there's carpet over them. But in the middle of the night, you'd just be trying to go to sleep or sleep. I'd be up terrified because that was just my whole childhood. I felt like just up terrified of everything. I was just like, what's going on? I'm telling you, like I said, I've said on the show, when I saw my dad play Resident Evil as a kid, I got terrified of my own breath because it sounded like a zombie in the game. how they would walk, like
funny.
shh, shh, and then like I'd hold my breath and be like, all right, there's nothing there, and I'd start breathing again. I'd be like, oh fuck, it's there. But yeah, but it, we'd be dead silent up in our beds, and it'd sound like, a rush down the stairs, almost if somebody fell all the way down the stairs, just all the way to the bottom, and freak us all out. And my mom would always be like, no, it's just the cat, go back to bed. It was just the cat. And, as a little kid, we'd be like, oh, I'd be like, all right. As an adult, I'd be like, there ain't no fucking way a cat made that much noise. Like, cause I've heard my cat fall down the stairs, cause Sniffles definitely took some tumbles. Yeah, I was a kid at the time too, so some of those tumbles might have been
pushes.
A little help, but I've heard it. You had to test it out, even as a kid. Maybe I didn't realize it, but I was kind of testing out the sounds to be like, was that the cat? I don't think it was the cat.
What do you sound like when you hit every step on the way down? For science.
But even when you think back of it, my sister did fall down the stairs one night, and it did sound identical to that sound, to a T. So you put two and two together, because, and we had a spot. That was the weirdest thing. I remember my childhood home, in the front porch, there was a spot, and it was like brown, maroonish red, a big square right by the front door. And I always just thought it was a death spot, like that somebody died there and they didn't find them long and, quick enough. And that just stained forever. And a lot of weird, like I said, that childhood, a lot of weird stuff happened. I know my mom got her arms all cut up. She'd try to push a glass door close. But just a lot of weird, not good. Yeah. Incidents, not good energies. And like I said, even then, years later, hosts later, that have lived there, a couple different people lived in that house. I think somebody else had moved in saying that stuff. Like, I could smell cigars upstairs. I swear I saw like a shadow moving in the basement and whatnot. It's like, yeah, I believe it. I believe that house is, it had some sort of negative energy packed to it.
For sure.
Yeah.
So that same house that I started having the seizures at, it was when I was living in Tennessee. I had started writing a script for like this horror movie, and I started explaining it to my roommates at the time, and one of them got super freaked out. She was like super wigged out by it and was like, I don't want you to make this movie. And I was like, what, why? And she's like, everything you just described, like we literally had this experience the other night. Like, her and her boyfriend had literally gone through what I had written, and the thing is, I wrote it because of the house we lived in. I was like, this house is like, just got such a vibe. Like, it feels like it is ripe for a ghost story. It does feel like it's a little haunted. And when I explained it to them, they were like, almost to a T, that's what happened. And it was bizarre too, because like, the couple in the story like gets split up in this house. Like, they can't find each other, even though they're literally like right there next to each other, sort of thing. And they went through that same thing where it was like, we've literally got like lost from each other somehow. And it's like, it's a creepy house.
That's cool. That's
How
crazy.
spirits stay on Earth. Wouldn't gravity not be able to keep them from being yeeted? I don't know. These are questions for Shep, man. You're full of them.
I think it's just where your energy gathers personally. I think if you, in my journey in my life and the things I've done to kind of see beyond the veil, I believe that it's wherever you like really focus your energy here in your physical form. I believe that's where you go to. That's why you see some ghosts that are left upon like murder scenes and stuff like that, because I feel like in that moment it's so traumatizing and their energy is so focused in there. I don't want to die right now. I don't want to be here. That energy is left among there, to where I feel like if you were Catholic and you're like, nah, I'm going to go to the Catholic heaven, you zoot off to a place that seemed like that. Or if you thought there was nothing, you just go to the void out in space and get a vibe around. So I think everything's kind of possible. That's why I always, like I said, I think if enough of us sat around and we're like, Sasquatch is fucking real, I don't need a picture. Right. Sasquatch is real. I think a Sasquatch would fucking manifest in our physical form out here.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of how I like people ask, about religion, which I don't talk about. I don't like to talk about religion or politics, but
Religion,
That's
politics,
kinda
Star Wars. It's all the same.
I'm always like, I'm not anybody. I'm not anybody to say that what I believe is it, and what you believe is not it. There's just not enough information on anything to be like, this is real and this isn't, or vice versa or whatever. So
Right.
I kind of always just, what, I believe in everything, because
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I vibe.
Until proven otherwise.
Why can't it be facts? You know what I'm saying? If I believe in reincarnation, why can't I break off a little piece of energy and it goes into another human body? And that's why somebody's like, I don't like this. I kind of am afraid of this or something, because they still have remnants of my energy up in them. You never know,
right? For real. I don't know. That's why I agree. I agree there.
Oh yeah. Well, we are coming to a close here. So Mercedes, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing these stories with
thank
us.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
Some really
Crazy
spooky
life,
ones
too. But not crazy people, damn it.
No.
Just to be clear. Why can't it all exist?
Right.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's exactly right. I mean,
that's right.
I don't see why not. I don't see, like, back in the day they didn't have fucking internets. They didn't get to sit around and talk. So I don't see why the universe itself, I mean, I buy into the whole, we're just the universe experience in itself in different forms. It's created energy.
Yeah.
We can't be destroyed now that we're created energy. And I always just thought that, like, why didn't, why maybe the universe manifested itself as these beings that we have been talked about our whole life, and we're like, damn. Or there's a lot of mysteries. I used to love unsolved mysteries when I was growing up, because sometimes they delve into this aspect and be like, hear the stories of the mom where the car ran over a kid and a mom picks the fucking car up. You start thinking about when we're full of our adrenaline and we can release that, the shit we're capable of. It's wild. And I think it's all definitely possible in my universe.
Yeah. Well, I guess the question is, for you lovely viewers, have you experienced anything spooky yourself? Any sort of interesting supernatural experiences in your own life? Have you subscribed to Scareplex yet? Because you should. And last but not least, have you watched Ghosts with Michael Rock? Because you definitely should do that by next week, because we got Michael Rock on the show next Monday, the man himself. So get ready for that one. It's free on Tubi. You got no excuse. So,
and Mercedes, do you have anywhere people could check out, like, your makeup stuff? Do you have, like, a page that you do it, or?
Actually, I was doing TikToks, which I've been meaning to start doing that again. I've done a lot of cool stuff on there. So it's Blazing Beauty Aesthetics.
Blazing Beauty Aesthetics.
It sounded out there, glitch boy. Sorry, glitching out on us again. Did you freeze?
He did.
I froze. I did.
Goodness.
I'm back now, though.
Sort of.
Right.
Yeah.
Your voice.
Well, anyway, Blazing Beauty Aesthetics, right?
Yeah.
Blazing Beauty Aesthetics, and catch her work October 13th in The Exorcism of Chase and Shep as well. So thanks again for joining us. We'll see you later.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Shep's doing his normal thing. Don't worry. Peace.